So this is something that's come up recently a lot for some reason. Not really sure why. Maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know what's going on with that. But we're going to talk about that for a minute because, and I mean, this may anger some people, but the truth is the truth. Okay, history is what it is, and that's just the way it is. This goes along with all of the attempts to change history and erase history or to get a new understanding, right? In order to get a new understanding, facts have to be changed because what we know about history has been true for a very long time, hundreds, thousands of years, okay? That's what we're talking about. So I guess it's time for a refresher course, apparently. That is a picture, I guess, of several Native American descendants flipping off Mount Rushmore. Well, who's on Mount Rushmore? George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt. Now, that last one, arguable, depending on, I guess, what you think of them. But I would argue that the first three, they earned it 100-fold. I mean, we're talking about, the two of the founding fathers, the first American president, the author of the Declaration of Independence, and then, of course, Abraham Lincoln. He did a lot of good things. So why are these people mad at those guys? Hate America, right? Apparently. I mean, I guess that's what you're saying there. I don't know what else, we're supposed to take from that. I mean, they're wearing American clothes, so they must like our clothes. The backwards hat, Air Jordan shirt on. I'm assuming they got there by cars, so they must like our cars. I'm assuming they took this picture with a phone, so they must like our phones. If you're so angry at the founding fathers of America and you feel the need to flip them off, you sure like the stuff you got because of it. So why are they mad at them? Most of us will go through our entire lives, and by most, I mean 99.9% of us, including me probably. We may do some good things, we may do some bad things, but if there's one thing I'm pretty sure about, our legacy will never be as tall as those men on that mountain. Literally. And I would venture to guess the people flipping them off, theirs won't either. I wonder if they were standing in front of the Capitol building, would they be flipping off the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., because, whatever problems are here right now, a lot of them come from there, I would argue. I would strongly argue, in fact. So I guess maybe it's just how they perceive history. So in order to figure out what's going on here, we probably have to take a look at the discussion that ensued, because one did. I see something like this on my news feed. I'm going to say something, because that's just ridiculous. Don't misunderstand. If you want to have this opinion, you think this is, the right way to feel, or it's whatever, man. It's on you. Just like you're free to have that opinion, I'm free to criticize it. I just made the comment. It's even funnier because the men they hate literally have legacies as tall as a mountain. Well, nobody will remember their names. The contrast is striking. I blacked out the person. You don't need to know who it is. It doesn't matter. You'll get the point. They responded with, it's the fact that we took this land from them. Okay. Well, warring bands of nomadic tribes who couldn't even manage to invent the wheel versus America. And by America, I mean the ideals of America, what it used to be. I'm glad we did. That's right. I am glad that America exists. And apparently they are too. Because they're using the same technology, they're getting the same benefits. In some ways, I would say they're getting even more benefits than I am from this government at this point. But when I say I'm glad America exists, I'm glad the ideals of America exist. I'm glad that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights exist. And after studying history myself, I can tell you with 100% certainty that we're as close as the world has ever come to getting it right. As it stands now, I think you know how I feel. But as it stands now, the 4 men on that mountain, well, at least 3 of them, aren't responsible for that, especially Jefferson. And these people flipping him off enjoy freedoms granted as a result of that declaration and the actions that followed. Okay, so the person responds back, and of course, you can kind of get an idea of how this is going to go, because the second response, right, immediately goes into emotional blackmail. Of course. That's a little quicker than usual. Usually, you get the emotional blackmail when they've exhausted their talking points from what they've heard on CNN or wherever they get their information. I'm assuming this person's pretty low info, because they immediately started with the emotional blackmail, just went straight to it. My great grandmother was full, and I used to spend weekends in the reservation. So unless you've actually lived with them and understand what they've lost, poor pitiful me, right? You can't imagine the pain you've never endured. Okay, it's just victimizing. It's just, to be fair, this does work on a lot of people, I think. I think people feel intimidated because they, no, you can't quantify hardship. You can't quantify feelings. I think most people's first instinct in an argument like this is, to come back with, well, I'm this and I'm, no. We don't get into that realm. Okay. Don't do it. Don't take the bait, because they're just trying to get you into the weeds. Okay. You can't quantify victim status, and you can try, and they certainly love to try to do that. That's an emotional argument. You're not actually saying anything of importance. You're just trying to get a gotcha moment. Yeah, she says they're my ancestors, and I understand. Of course, this person isn't an Indian. She may have some blood. That's fine. It doesn't grant you special understanding. Because here's the thing, folks. No matter how you may feel about your ethnic group and your ancestors, the facts are the facts. History is history. What happened, happened. You trying to feel some kind of way, or trying to make me feel some kind of way about it, feelings don't matter, because facts don't care about your feelings. Facts are facts. I said I don't have to quantify and compare hardships to understand history. Most of us have ancestors from different ethnic groups, but we can still be objective about what we know happened. And it would also seem that they, in the picture, are reaping the benefits of America while bashing it. She goes on to start in with, they made women have hysterectomies in the 70s. They made them breed with white men to create it's discussing what they did to a beautiful race of people. Not to mention the schools that enslaved the children and murdered them, thousands. Okay. Of course, I did point out, there was a lot of enslaving. There was a lot of murdering going on. They were enslaving and murdering each other. They were warring tribes, that did this to each other long before we got here. They literally took slaves from tribes that they conquered, fought other tribes just because they superstitious beliefs or whatever. There's a lot of reasons that violence happened. There's a lot of reasons they took slaves. Probably the easiest was easy labor. As far as murdering and raping, those are facts about human nature, okay? They're not solely owned by any group with any certain color of skin. Humans are going to human, and we've seen that throughout history. Just the way it is. History is replete with bad things done to people. History is also replete with conquerors. Conquered and conquerors. It's the way of our species. That's the way it has always happened, especially in the old days. You can read about any number of wars fought over this or that in Europe, all the way to biblical times, Old Testament times. People conquered other people. They saw something that a certain set of people had, they wanted it, and if they felt like they could get it, they went for it. That's history, okay? Now, as far as people coming to America, that was more of a soft conquer compared to European history. Big time. But nevertheless, it did happen. There's also another reason why this happened, and we're about to get into that. And I did respond to the hysterectomies comment that she was talking about. She's actually referring to the Family Planning Services Act of 1970, which apparently we totally agree on. That was yet another unconstitutional welfare bill with a hidden bonus of eugenics. It's a real story. You know, of course, that's that deep state evil, that special brand, right, that only they can really drive home. They're really good at it, even in the 70s. This goes back a ways. Now we went back and forth. One of her friends got on there and tried to actually tried to make the case that Native Americans were more technologically advanced than the Europeans that came. Yeah. She linked a list of natural things that we discovered, you know, or that they knew, that Native Americans knew about, and we found out about, and then somebody else innovated with, thinking that that's some judge of civilization. The technological gap between European settlers, right, and the Native Americans, or Indians, whatever you want to call them, the indigenous people of this continent, that gap was large. And typically, what happens when a very advanced civilization makes contact with a very primitive one? Guess which one wins out? It's no different here. As you can see from the technological advances across time, what was the first known year of contact between European settlers, indigenous people? 1492. That puts them somewhere between optical lens and steam engine. That's the arriving settlers. Where do you think the indigenous people were at on this scale, technologically speaking, at the time of contact? Well, they had stone tools, fire, bow, but not the wheel. Does that put them in prehistory? Or they had some writing? Did they have any means of water mills or even, let's be generous, even hydro-mechanical advantage, you know, like using water to make things move? Maybe. Did they have gunpowder? No. They're somewhere between prehistory, which is over 3000 BC, and what? The water mill? 100 BC? The difference in technological advancement, like I said, was vast. What do you think was going to happen? Just the way it goes, man. It sucks they couldn't find a different way to do it, right? But nobody had ever found a different way that this went. Where do you think we would be if that contact had never happened? Well, you and I wouldn't be here at all, probably. I think it's safe to say that. The, entire history of the continent would be different. Do you think we'd be up in mobile technology? I don't think so. People fail to realize the vast differences of the people that came here versus what they found. So this is a picture of what Rome probably looked like, judging from the ruins and what we know is there and the kind of technology they had. That's like 100 BC. Here's Spain in 1492. This is the departure of Columbus. You will notice stone structures made out of bricks, sailing ships, giant sailing ships, weapons made from metal. Plate armor can be seen in the distance, stone towers, stone walls. You get the idea. Not bad. This is the most gracious picture I could find of an indigenous city. That's generous. That's more like what it probably actually looked like for towns. My point is to not disparage any race of people over another. I'm telling you the realities, the hard realities of the situation as it stands. Technology is exponential. Look at the curve right there. On those timelines, things start slow and they exponentially grow. So in order to get to fission power, space flight, internet, mobile technology, we had to spend a long time on water mills and gunpowder. It's no different for them because they, like us, are human. One group of people was from another side of the world that had the benefit of thousands of years of advancement. The other group of people were still nomadic tribes. for the most part. That's why we don't see giant cities like Rome in America. There's a lot of history over there, and there's a lot of advancement that occurred. Now, this doesn't mean that it was okay for any atrocities to take place, but atrocities are going to take place. It won't be the last time humans do bad things to one another. But as far as saying that we shouldn't be here, or that the ideals of America are terrible because we took land, we didn't take land. The land was not owned by a single nation. They were warring tribes. It's not like it was a country with a capital that we invaded. And even if it had been, that's the way the world works, and that's the way history works. If you don't want to get invaded, then you better have bigger and badder toys than the other guys, the ones that want to invade you and take what they want. Because otherwise they're going to invade you and they're going to take what you want. And I think America's about to learn this all over again, so don't worry. We'll have our turn. But as far as if America had never existed, no thank you. I will take the advancements. I will take the ideals of America, the U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Rights over what was here when we got here. Any day of the week. I am unapologetic on that fact. The ideas that are being fed into these people's brains about how, well, they were actually this beautiful people. No, they were not. And you're kidding yourself if you think they were. They were as savage to each other as any human has ever been to another one. Because humanity's history is not beautiful. They're human. Like me, like you. But something else came out of that. Something better. And if you're going to sit there and tell me that you don't think that we're better off, okay, go live in the woods in a tent. Have fun. Good luck with that. You'll sit there and say, well, I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask for any of this. Okay, none of us asked for the history that we were given, but you're damn lucky you got it. That's America. We made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. U.S. Constitution, I'd choose that any day of the week. I believe that so much. In fact, I swore an oath to protect it with my life. A lot of other people have too. So you standing there flipping the bird at Mount Rushmore, at the people, one of whom wrote the very thing that I swore to defend and protect and give my life to, it does piss me off. And I'll call you out on it, because I think in the end, all you're doing is just spouting a nonsense, divisionist outlook, a poisonous outlook, one that is meant to make me an other, one that is meant to keep us divided. And why do they keep us divided? I've said it 100 times, and I'll just keep saying it. Because if we're divided fighting each other, we aren't fighting them. The deep state, they wouldn't stand a chance. They know it. And you can think what you want to think, you can post what you want to post, but there are some of us out there that'll call you out on it when we see it. And we're free to do so. The person that posted that picture originally and that I was having that lively little discussion with, she deleted her post, and I went from 669 friends to 668. So good talk, I guess.